And one more really cool thing I want to talk about. Let's go ahead and do a really quick fill layer. And I'm going to fill this with a plastic. Let's say kind of a red. Let's do a dark red plastic. And underneath that, I'm going to make a new fill layer, but I'm going to drag this underneath my plastic here. And I'm going to turn off my plastic. So we'll call this plastic. And we'll call this metal. And this metal will just be a nice light, shiny, so pretty rough, or black roughness, and then very metallic. So it's going to have nice shiny metal, and I don't want to inherit all that garbage underneath, so I'm going to go to my height, and of course change this to replace. So now if I turn plastic back on, I've got basically plastic sitting over metal. Now on this plastic, if I go add a black mask, and then add a generator, and with this generator, I can go over here to my generators, and let's go down to, you know what, I was going to say we could do like MG Paintware, so we can just roll that on there, and then, of course, we'll have to go through here to invert that. So now it's just kind of wearing away. But you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm going to go to my generator here and click that X, and let's talk about this mask builder. So if I click this and drag it over here, this is going to be like a catch-all node. And actually, I didn't actually talk about this when you're talking about Substance Designer. If we go down here to mask generators and we scroll down, you're going to have this mask builder in here. If you load that in here, this thing is a beast. It wants everything. It wants your ambient occlusion, curvature, position, world space, normal, custom grunge inputs if you want, some scatter inputs if you want to do, and an optional mask. Because when you double click this one, you're going to have options to change tons and tons of things to generate your mask. So you're going to have access to the amount of wear, any sort of grunge you want, AO stuff. If you get into your curvature map, you can change the convex and the concave range. That'll kind of really fine-tune what parts of the curvature mask you're using. All sorts of cool stuff in here. Some scratches are in here. Position, which again could be top to bottom of your mesh for like mud splatter and stuff. World space, when we were doing the sun bleach, you know, the top facing parts of your object can be masked out. Scatter, all sorts of really cool stuff. Same thing in Painter. So if we go through here and let's go ahead and choose invert. Yeah, I think we want invert here. So here's the level. So we turn this down. It's going to be like, oh, there's none. We can slowly have it start creeping in. And this is overall parameters on level. So the grunge, we can say less grunge. So it's very kind of clean lines, or we want tons of grunge, kind of breaking up the surface here. You can change the scale of the grunge if you want to. And every change we make, if you roll over your mask here, you're going to see it's updating what's white and what's black, and what's allowing the plastic or the metal underneath to show through the plastic. And really with this thing, it's just playing with the options. You can go into your AO map and see how much or how little it affects your mask here, your curvature. Here's the global intensity on your curvature, so we can crank this up. Your convex range, we can play with the highlighted edges, it looks like, as opposed to the concave range, which I think is the interior. Yeah, so the places where dirt would normally collect, we can go ahead and crank that down. I only want to pick up the edges here. Scratches, we can turn on a bunch of scratches. And of course, it looks like we got to change the scale. And it's only happening where the actual mask is, so I bet if we go up here and change the level, now you're going to start seeing scratches kind of come in. So tons and tons of different ways to kind of play with this stuff. And if you scroll all the way down, all of those things that it needed, here's custom grunge if you want to go in here to your procedurals and drop custom grunges in there, or go ahead and import those, which is under File, Import Images. You can go ahead and drop those into your custom grunges. And here's all the things I was talking about, your position, curvature, ambient, and world space normal. All those things are available to be plugged in to give you a custom mask here. Now, getting back to what I wanted to talk about. We've generated this mask, and let's say, you know what, this thing is perfect, except for a couple little areas. Well, an easier way, instead of going in here and hitting P and then painting and kind of doing a weirdo job of trying to get this thing cleaned up, all you have to do is right click here and do add a paint. So here's paint here, and go ahead and click your brush so you can go ahead and paint on this thing. So with the paint selected, you've got black or you've got white. So if we go black here, I think just with our default brush we can paint the plastic out, and if you go and grab a dirt brush with black selected, you can kind of start, let's go ahead and make this smaller here, and I'm going to go mess with the flow a little bit here. So flow, It's at 100. I'm going to drop this down so as I can just slowly start brushing in a little bit of dirt, or if we want to go to scratches here, and we'll turn that flow down as well. You can start scratching away like you're going over with some steel wool, on the edges, so you can actually add to your mask in a very specific way to go in and kind of paint that manually. Or if you go down here to, we had white selected, let's go ahead and, or we had black selected, let's go ahead and choose white. And then we'll go back up here to maybe our dirt brush. And with white selected, you can actually go through and paint out the mask. So let's say, you know what, everything looks great, but it looks a little bit too worn. You can actually go and pick and choose where you don't want it to wear. And if you want to go in with your default brush and just do it really quickly, you can certainly do that as well. So you can paint in more custom wear or paint out procedural wear. That's kind of up to you, but you can kind of go in there and refine your masks using a paint generator.